Most people think the richest civilization in human history came from Europe, or from the empires of the Middle East, or from the vast wealth of ancient China. But they're wrong, because 700 years ago, deep inside the deserts of West Africa, there was a kingdom so wealthy that a single king carried enough gold to collapse entire economies. This was the Mali Empire. But this story is not about royalty. It's about the economic engine behind the empire. A machine so advanced, it turned sand, caravans, and desert trade into the greatest concentration of wealth the world had ever seen. To understand how Mali became richer than Rome, Egypt, and even modern nations, we must uncover the gold network, the institutions, and the financial logic that powered the richest civilization in human history, the hidden gold rivers beneath the Sahel. Long before the world knew the name Mali, the land seemed empty, barren, dry. But beneath its cracked desert surface lay the foundation of a future economic superpower: gold rivers. West Africa's geology formed natural underground channels filled with some of the purest gold on Earth. Unlike Egypt or Rome, Mali didn't have to dig deep mines. The gold simply gathered in riverbeds, waiting to be extracted with baskets, wooden pans, and bare hands. Local clans found so much gold that they used it for decorations, festivals, gifts, not realizing they were sitting on the foundation of a global financial system. But soon, traders from the north saw something these villagers couldn't. This wasn't gold. This was power. This was the beginning of the richest empire in history, the rise of a strategic kingdom story. By the 1200s, dozens of small tribes were fighting to control gold streams. Trade routes were chaotic, unsafe, unpredictable. But one leader, Sundiata Keita, understood something deeper. Gold alone cannot build an empire. Order builds an empire. So he united the region under one rule, not just politically, but economically. He built standardized trade routes, secure tax checkpoints, a unified system of weights and measures. Caravan protection patrols. For the first time, gold could move safely across West Africa. This was the moment Mali stopped being a region and became an economy. Gold as a government system story. Unlike European kingdoms that relied on land taxes, Mali used something radically different: gold flow taxation. Trading caravans entering Mali paid taxes in gold dust, salt, ivory, cloth, livestock. The government didn't need spreadsheets. They measured wealth by trade volume, not population. The more trade grew, the richer the state became, automatically. Mali essentially built the world's first flow-based economic engine, where wealth was created not from what people owned, but from what people moved. This transformed Mali into the central marketplace of Africa. The trade triangle that printed money. Mali's real wealth didn't come from gold. It came from control. Three main goods formed Africa's economic triangle. 1, gold from South Mali. 2, salt from northern deserts. 3, human capital plus trade goods from internal regions. When these three moved through Mali, the empire absorbed a percentage of each. This made Mali the central switchboard of African economic activity. Every caravan, every transaction, every tax payment flowed into one system. This wasn't a kingdom. This was a financial machine. Timbuktu, the Wall Street of the desert. By the 1300s, Mali had built not just a trade network, but a financial center. Timbuktu became the Wall Street of the Sahara. Merchants stored fortunes in clay vaults, stone safes, guarded compound rooms, money changers exchanged, dinars, dirhams, gold dust, cowrie shells, salt credits. Scholars recorded prices, trade volumes, tax rates. Mali invented economic literacy. This wasn't a desert town. This was the financial capital of Africa. The economic throne of Mansa Musa. Story. When Mansa Musa took the throne, he didn't inherit a kingdom. He inherited a functioning economic engine. Taxes were stable. Trade was booming. Gold supply was unmatched. Trust in Mali's financial network was global. Musa simply turned the machine to maximum power. Under his rule, production increased, trade expanded, scholarship flourished, global partnerships formed. People say Mansa Musa was the richest man ever. But the truth is, Musa wasn't rich. Mali was rich. He was simply the conductor of the world's most powerful economic orchestra. The pilgrimage that shocked the world's story. In 1324, Mansa Musa made a decision that would permanently rewrite world economics. He would take the Hajj pilgrimage to Mecca. But he didn't travel like a king. He traveled like an economic superpower. Legend says 60,000 people in the caravan, 12,000 royal servants, hundreds of camels, each camel carrying 100 to 200 kilograms of gold. The desert had never seen such wealth moving at once. When Musa reached Cairo, he spent gold so freely, gifts, charity, trades, construction, that he accidentally caused inflation. Gold prices collapsed for 12 straight years. European, Arabian, and African markets all felt the shockwave of a single journey. This was not a pilgrimage. This was the moment Mali became visible to the world economy, not as a kingdom, but as a financial force capable of disturbing global markets. The economic shockwave. Across continents, most kings build statues. Mansa Musa built economic consequences. Word of his spending reached Venetian bankers, Arab traders, Ottoman officials, North African merchants, European cartographers. Everyone wanted to know where this ocean of gold came from. For the first time in history, Europe placed a black African king at the center of world maps. Cartographers drew Musa holding a massive gold orb. Italian traders wrote letters calling Mali the land of infinite gold. Arab merchants altered trade routes to connect directly with Mali's centers. But behind all this attention was a deeper truth. Musa proved that Mali's gold output was large enough to move global monetary systems. No European monarch, no Asian dynasty, no Middle Eastern caliph could destabilize markets the way Mali unintentionally did. This was the ultimate proof of Mali's economic supremacy. Timbuktu universities. The knowledge economy. Most people think Mali's wealth came only from gold, but that's only half the story. The real engine powering the empire was knowledge monetization. Timbuktu housed Sankore University, Jingwariber University, Sidi Yahya University. These were not just religious schools. They were financial institutions. They taught mathematics, trade accounting, currency equivalents, property documentation, contract law, long-distance trade planning. Merchants from North Africa paid huge fees to study here. A single scholar's manuscript could be worth more than gold dust bags. Mali didn't just sell gold. Mali sold intellectual capital. Knowledge became a market commodity, recorded, priced, traded, and stored. In many ways, it was the earliest form of the information economy, the architecture of trust. Why did Mali succeed where other rich kingdoms collapsed? The answer is simple: trust-based commerce. Unlike many medieval states, Mali created a system where contracts were enforceable, merchants were protected, taxes were predictable, caravans were secured, disputes were settled fairly. This made Mali a safe place for long-distance traders who often traveled for months across deadly deserts. Trust functioned like interest. It multiplied wealth. Mali became the heart of African commerce not because it had the most gold, but because merchants trusted that Mali would protect their wealth. Trust is the greatest currency in history. Mali mastered it centuries before Europe did. The peak. Mali becomes a global wealth hub. At its height, the Mali Empire controlled half of the world's gold supply, the Sahara's most important trade corridors, Africa's largest universities, West Africa's biggest population, centers an unmatched taxation network. Gold flowed through Mali like electricity through wires. Cities expanded. Scholars migrated. Merchants built permanent bases. Foreign diplomats arrived with gifts. Markets overflowed with goods from 3 continents. Europe was still recovering from the Dark Ages. China was battling internal instability. But Mali was booming. It was the only place on Earth where wealth was so abundant that people literally weighed gold dust on spoons because coins were too small a unit. This wasn't an empire built by kings. This was an empire built by economic engineering. The slow decline of a giant. But wealth is fragile, and Mali's economic machine began to slow for one reason. Trade shifted. New Atlantic routes opened. North African political tensions rose. Internal succession disputes weakened the state. Rival kingdoms grew stronger. Gold fields became harder to manage. Mali didn't collapse in a dramatic fall. It faded, slowly, like a fire running out of fuel. But even in decline, its influence remained. The trade systems it built, the academic traditions it funded, the gold networks it structured, all continued shaping Africa for centuries after Mali's political power disappeared. Empires fall, economic ideas survive. The legacy that outlived the empire. Even after Mali fragmented, its economic blueprint survived. Its ideas influenced West African trade guilds, Islamic financial systems, future gold economies, manuscript cultures, desert caravan networks. Modern economists still study Mali as one of the earliest examples of decentralized trade taxation, trust-based commerce, knowledge monetization, resource flow economics, cross-border wealth circulation. The world remembers Mansa Musa. But the real achievement was the system that made such wealth possible. Mali proved that an empire can be built not on armies, not on conquests, but on economics. And for a brief moment in human history, the richest place on Earth was not Europe, not Asia, not the Middle East. It was Mali.